Welcome everyone, this is Shooting from the Hip, and as you can see from the dark screen beside me, I am without a co-host at the moment. My co-host, unfortunately, had an incident a few days ago while he was trying to record an episode of his show on Heavyweight Mark, and he had a seizure. Now, since then, I'm not altogether sure how he's doing. I talked to him a little bit yesterday. He said it was like pins and needles, and he wasn't feeling that great. I asked him if he still wanted to do the show today. We could maybe, reschedule or whatever. He said he was going to be able to do it, but I've been trying to catch him all day. Nothing. So I'm a little bit concerned about him. I hope he's all right. And Red Rainer, if you are perhaps in bed listening, get better soon, buddy, because this is our show together, not just pillar to post. It's pillar to post and Heavyweight Mark joining forces. But moving on, I'm not going to bother playing our intro. It's only 13 seconds, but I don't feel the need to. I'm shooting this alone, so we're going to try and make it as good a show as possible. Now, if by chance the feed is being a bitch again like it was last time, I might just put up a poster above or over the video and just do an audio version, because we have not been lucky since we started Shooting from the Hip. The first week it was audio trouble. The second week YouTube was being a prick, and so let me check out how the stream's going right now. It looks like it's fine. So how about we just keep on plugging and bugging and move right on into what we can discuss today. Now, earlier today, we had Charlotte Flair send out a tweet, and I guess this happened on Thursday, or Wednesday. Her phone was hacked, or her cloud was hacked. Something was hacked anyway, and nude photos of her were leaked. Now, these were self-taken photos of her nude in front of a mirror, and that's been circulating throughout wrestling news all day long, on here on Twitter, as well as other social media outlets and websites. So, I kind of feel for her, and in a way I don't, because lately it seems like it's become a trend for these women to supposedly be hacked and their nude photos released to the public. Now, I talked about this earlier in my podcast, and I figure might as well continue it because it is the top fucking news today. And yes, it's crap. There goes a fucking train through my backyard, as always when I want to do a video or live stream. But we'll continue anyway. Now, you look at who's all supposedly been hacked as of late. You've got Paige. Alexa Bliss had her face superimposed on nude women. You could clearly see. Now, I'm not going to show these photos to you because simply it's against my better judgment. Now, I did it with Alexa Bliss because I could see that they were fake photos and they were funny looking, so why not, have a little entertainment and a good laugh. But with Charlotte, it is clearly her body, it is clearly her face, and I'm not going to resort to that. Now, I did find some of her face, facial features superimposed onto other bodies, but I figured, well, it would be pushing it just a little too far. I had a subscriber post on my video too about this report, and he simply just posted a link to all the photos, and I will not approve of something like that on my channel, because if I'm going to go to that resort, if I'm going to resort to those actions, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to have my viewers post those links on my channel. And if I'm not willing to do it, then I'm not going to endorse it either. Call me a prick, I don't care. Now, like I said, it's been a trend lately, it seems. Now, I'm starting to think, is this either someone actually hacking them, And if so, in light of all the recent hacks, why are they not being more careful with their shit? Honestly. In this day of age, how easy it is to get into other people's business is ridiculous to begin with. So why push the luck? Why push that boundary? You know, if you're going to take nude pics of yourself, why keep them on your phone or on your laptop, tablet, or whatever, or even uploading them to the cloud? Why take the chance? Or is this some kind of locker room bullshit going on, some shenanigans where the women in the locker room are doing it to themselves? You know, someone hacks someone else's shit or just pulls it up. You know, well, we'll share this, embarrass them a little bit. So it's retaliation from the other women. What are your thoughts on it? You know, you guys can speak in the chat. I know we only have one viewer right now, but don't be afraid to throw up a chat. I'm willing to discuss anything you want. Just have a little bit of balls, you know, just a little bit of balls. Now, how it's going, I want to say that it seems like this locker room shenanigans going on, because it's just one right after another. We just had Alexa Bliss go on Twitter asking for those photos to be removed, saying that they were fake, blah, blah, blah. And then we had Paige, or before that we had Summer Rae, God knows who else. It's got to the point where this is what we're covering on news media. And following Payback, there should have been a lot of news out and about in the wrestling world today. And, well, actually all this week. And frankly, there was very little. And so we're stuck talking about this subject, which is kind of like pulling a boot out of your ass. You don't really want to, you know, torture yourself, but you need to get it out there. So there you go. Now, in other news, I'm going to go to my notes here. We're going to discuss this week in wrestling as well. And what are your guys' thoughts on what's been going on in the wrestling industry as of late? Because frankly, to me, it's been pretty garbage lately. But I came across an article about a former WWE creative writer and 5 pitches that were rejected by Vince McMahon. Kevin Eck is a former member of the WWE creative team and now blogs about pro wrestling for Pressbox. And he had a pretty interesting article, I thought, so I figured I'd read it out to you guys since I don't have my co-host here to bounce shit off of. Going solo, well, you know, I'm the type of guy, I'm not going to cancel a show just for a little issue to come up. And I am concerned about my co-host, but the show must go on. Now, it goes on to say, it was brought to my attention that former WWE diva AJ Lee, also known as AJ Mendez Brooks in real life, acknowledged me in her recently released autobiography as the creator of her on-screen pairing with Daniel Bryan. I consider the AJ Bryan storyline pitch to be one of my 2 most impactful contributions during my 3-year stint, 2011 to 2014, on the WWE creative team, the other being the Mark Henry faux retirement angle. Now, of course, not all of my great ideas, while they were great in my mind, got green-lighted by the powers that be. The following are 5 storylines I pitched that were rejected. Now, the first pitch was kind of interesting to me. I figured it worked kind of well with the 2 characters in question. He pitched Dean Ambrose and AJ Lee hook up in a mental institution. And if you remember AJ Lee, she was very... she played well with the crazy gimmick, and Dean Ambrose is known as the lunatic fringe. So it did play well in with that angle. Now, the article goes on to say the rocky relationship between AJ and Bryan culminated with AJ leaving him at the altar after she discovered he was planning on having her committed to a mental institution after the wedding. Nice little twist there. Meanwhile, the creative team was looking for a plan B to bring Ambrose from developmental to the main roster. Plan A worked, shoot. Angle with Ambrose and McFoley engaging in a war of words on social media was scrapped after Foley legitimately took issue with something Ambrose said about him. My idea was Bryan's plan to have AJ committed to actually succeed. We take her off TV for a little while before bringing her back in dramatic fashion. She would return with her new boyfriend Ambrose, whom she had met while both were patients in the institution. Ambrose and AJ would wreak havoc, becoming WWE's version of Bonnie and Clyde, or Mickey and Mallory, to use a less dated analogy. Vince McMahon had a different vision. The WWE chairman and CEO loved the AJ character and decided to make her the new Raw general manager after she called off the wedding to Bryan. AJ as GM didn't get over, and her run as an authority figure lasted just 3 months. I'm not sure if people would have actually enjoyed that angle between her and Ambrose. It has, it does play with both their characters very well. But AJ at that time was bouncing from one guy to another throughout the shows. CM Punk, John Cena, Bryan Daniels, or Daniel Bryan, I should say. It was over and over again, someone always different that she's hooking up with to get that power back that she was lacking. I didn't like AJ as AGM. I really didn't. She didn't have that character that fit in a power role. She was more of a shit disturber, crazy bat that did as she pleased, and if someone didn't agree with it, she was going to fuck him up, and that's what I loved about AJ Lee as a character. So, intents and purposes, Ambrose and her would have worked well for a little while, but I don't think it would have been a storyline that could have continued for a long period of time. Now, his second storyline was a faction of former indie stars invades WWE. Now, doesn't this sound very familiar? This was pitched in 2012. So you're looking at, right before that was the ECW, WCW invasion. I think that was a few years before, but, pretty close off the heels of this. I can understand why this was scrapped, but if you listen, it kind of sounds very familiar to another pitch that was made, and that did come over. As the historic 1000th episode of Raw was approaching, each member of the creative team was asked to come up with a major storyline that would begin on that show. My pitch was to create an edgy new heel faction composed of top developmental prospects. Ambrose, I was determined to get him on the main roster in a meaningful way, one way or another. Seth Rollins and Cassius Ohno, aka Chris Hero, were the other two. Now, it was his spin on the Nexus, a heel stable of developmental wrestlers who invaded WWE in 2010. After a hot start, the Nexus fell victim to questionable booking and lasted just more than a year before being disbanded. Now, there was a lot of people that enjoyed the whole Nexus angle, and when that was scrapped, there was a lot of people pissed. They accused John Cena of burying them, which might have been the case. But all in all, it ended way before it should have. Now, he goes on to say, my idea began with former ECW star Tommy Dreamer being named the head of WWE's scouting department. As someone who paid his dues on the independent scene and didn't have the traditional WWE look, Dreamer's goal was to give guys with similar qualities an opportunity. On the Raw 1000th, Dreamer would formally announce Ambrose. Rollins and Ohno were now part of the WWE roster. They would go on to compete that night in a 6-man tag match against 3 lower card heels and go over with impressive fashion. After the match, Ambrose, Rollins, and Ohno would call Dreamer into the ring, seemingly to thank him for what he's done for them. Instead, they turn on him and deliver a brutal 3-on-1 beatdown to the lovable veteran. Now, on the following week's show, they explained that they just used Dreamer to get their foot in the door in WWE. They say Dreamer wanted them to work their way up the card and do things the right way, but they are not going to play by his rules. They reveal that their leader is someone with a background like theirs who knows success is achieved by any means necessary. And that man would have been Daniel Bryan. Sorry about that. Who was a heel at the time. So I think that would have been a pretty good pitch. Having Bryan lead in some guys from the independents that, you know, weren't really considered at WWE's level, I think it would have been able to go over very well. Now, the article goes on to say, as it turned out, the big angle we went with was on Raw 1000th was CM Punk turning heel on The Rock. Several months later, it was decided Punk, who was WWE champion at the time, would get 3 guys from developmental to become his henchmen and help him retain the title. I suggested my trio of Ambrose, Rollins, and Ono to Triple H in a booking meeting. Triple H said he already had Ambrose and Rollins in mind, but instead of Ono, he wanted Roman Reigns, and thus the Shield was born. Now, there was a lot of people upset the first time Ono was in NXT and developmental, and he was released. A lot of people didn't understand the reason for his departure from NXT as well as the developmental. And since then, he has gained a substantial amount of weight. He doesn't have the physique he once had. And that is something it seems like they are working on. They want him to lose that weight so he looks more appealing to fans and more in sync with his character. But I do like the Ambrose, Rollins, and Ono bit. I think the fans would have connected with them more, because look at what they've done with Reigns since. They have pushed this man down our throats so bad that he doesn't get the respect from the fans that they expected him to. And it's not going to happen anytime soon until they start working with Roman Reigns the way they should have. I love the pitch. This one was a good pitch. I kind of like this one. I would have liked to see this one play out a little bit more. But as you can see, they instead, Triple H, brought in the Shield members of Roman Reigns instead of Ono. The third one was Big Show assaults Alberto Del Rio's father. Now, this one I don't really care for. I'm not going to bother reading it. Number 4, the romance of Cody Rhodes and Caitlyn. Now, I believe this is the one where... No, that isn't the one. I don't want that one. That one's bullshit. I don't love romance fucking bullshit stories in WWE. It makes it too much like the soap opera that, you know, you can pick up any day on any channel. No, the one I liked was Cody and Brandy Rhodes as the new Goldust and Marlena. I thought it was a bit of a twist on the whole Stardust bit. So let me roll with it. With my storyline of Caitlyn coming between best friends Rhodes and Sandow having died a premature death, I later pitched another variation of Rhodes being caught between his girl and someone close to him. This time, the conflict involved Rhodes' real-life wife, Brandy, who was then known as WWE ring announcer Eden Styles, and his brother, Goldust. It already had been decided by McMahon that Rhodes was going to transform into a new character known as Stardust, who would wear face paint and ring attire similar to Goldust. The question was how were we going to get there? Rhodes and Goldust were a babyface tag team at the time, and I suggested we play off the fact that veteran Goldust was getting a bigger reaction from the crowd than his younger brother. Feeling that Goldust is hogging the spotlight, Rhodes turns on him and becomes Stardust. It's revealed Brandy was the one who planted the seed in her husband's mind that his brother was using him to stay relevant and keep him from becoming the star of his team. Brandy's plan is for Stardust to become bigger than Goldust ever was, and she adopts a look and mannerisms that are very reminiscent of Goldust's former wife and valet, Marlena. McMahon instead chose to have Rhodes and Goldust go on a losing streak, which led to Rhodes saying his brother deserved a better partner than him. Rhodes conducted a search for a new partner for Goldust before ultimately having an epiphany that the man for the job was him as Stardust. Now, Stardust eventually turned on Goldust, but Brandi wasn't involved, and McMahon pulled the plug on the feud after just one pay-per-view match. You know, considering what we got from the whole Stardust angle, I actually would have been more in tune to watching that than what we got. The whole Stardust character was a joke to begin with, and it was I believe the pivotal moment where Cody was just waiting for his contract to expire and just walk out. I'm glad he did, because what he's doing on the indie circuit right now is far better than what WWE was allowing him to do within the WWE walls. You know, there is only one Goldust. Them trying to recreate that, I don't think would have gone over well in the long run. But for the time being, till he could transition back into Cody Rhodes, I think it could have worked. But all in all, they missed a big opportunity with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was so much better as just being Cody Rhodes, being allowed to be himself. And if they would have elevated him the way they could have, he would have made a tremendous star within WWE. But instead, we got this crazed, maniacal, face-painted retard that might as well been out licking our windows and spying on us than actually being a good competitive wrestler. We all know that he eventually hooked up with the Ascension before he left, and then he just left and nothing was said. So if you want to check out what Cody Rhodes can actually do in the ring, check out his shows or his matches on Ring of Honor and the Independents, because you're going to see a lot better Cody Rhodes than we got to see in WWE. Well, my co-host still has yet to call me on Skype, so I guess that is a sign that he is not up for doing the show. I'm going to go as long as I can. I promise 2 hours. Now, if you have any questions, please post in the chat. Don't be afraid to leave a comment or something. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to Pillar of the Post. And keep on following me. Help the channel grow a little bit. Now, there was another article I thought was pretty fucking ridiculous. Josh Matthews compares Impact Wrestling with WWE. Talks losing big stars and India as a market. Sportskeeda recently caught up with Impact Wrestling announcer Josh Matthews. And here are some highlights. They asked him, working for Impact compared to WWE. And he says, here there's a little more freedom, a little more leeway, a little more opportunity. Of course there's opportunity. Everyone's fucking leaving Impact Wrestling, you fucking nutbag. This guy is a retard. The potential for growth is so much more. Yes, because your locker rooms are emptying on a daily basis. Because, for one, you rip them off. And two, you put on shitty shows that don't pick up viewers. WWE is a well-oiled machine. Not as much as it used to be, pal. That's been around for so many years. We're about half their age when you look at our 15th anniversary of Slammiversary taking place on Sunday, July 2nd. So we're not trying to replicate them, but do our thing in the same sort of entertainment world. Now, how that compares to WWE, I don't know, because for one, your shows, I cannot even get in the 5 minutes of Impact Wrestling and I fall asleep. Now, the only time I seem to fall asleep during Monday Night Raw or SmackDown is when there is a very crappy fucking match, or when you're throwing us 6-man tag cruiserweight matches that have no cruiserweight-like mentality within the match. You know, you look at a WWE cruiserweight match and you're thinking, well, this is the same shit the big guys are fucking doing. So how is this any different than watching the big guys do these moves? And then you go back to WCW days when they had their cruiserweights, and these guys are flying all over the fucking place, and they're doing it safely. And yet, Vince McMahon and company do not trust their own cruiserweights to protect themselves while they're doing this shit. Well, you know, then there'd be how many storylines where they'd have fake fucking injuries. Look at the thing between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns right now. You know, oh yeah, the one's got, you know, a torn rotator cuff. The other one's got internal injuries where he's puking up blood, and he's supposedly got broken ribs. And yet, the next day, they're in Rome and spearing each other through fucking tables. You know, would we get more storylines like that if the cruiserweights were actually fucking doing their cruiserweight job? I gotta say this. Everyone that's running these divisions that are X division or cruiserweight related, they need to unshackle these motherfuckers and let them wrestle like we know they can. I even went back and watched the cruiserweight tournament that WWE held, and I seen shit in there that I'm not seeing on my television every week, and it makes no sense to me. You were allowing them to potentially endanger their lives for a tournament, but you're not going to let them put on that kind of performance inside your ring because they could get hurt. Give me a fucking break. Pay them a little bit more money. You know, let them make the risks that they want to make. But if you're afraid of getting sued in the future, like this whole concussion lawsuit, have them fucking sign a waiver, you know? Fuck them. But let them fucking wrestle. India as a market. Josh Matthews says India is super important to Impact Wrestling. I don't know if I can say it any differently. It's a super important subject. We love being on Sony 6 and love building the relationship and love our tremendous fan base there. That's probably the most fan base you have, you fucking moron. Josh Matthews calls himself the fucking GOAT of commentators, and that isn't just in Impact Wrestling, people. That is on WWE television as well as Ring of Honor and all independent sources. Goat? Really? More like goat fucker. You know, go rape another, you know, goat or sheep in the fucking farmer's backyard. I don't care, but you being a goat, and if you don't know what goat means, it's greatest of all time. No, frankly, you are completely delusional. Now, Impact coping with losing some big stars, and thank you, my beautiful wife, for that coffee. He goes, you know, the wrestling business has always been, I won't say a revolving door. There's loyalties and things like that, but it's just the way this business goes. You don't stay in one place forever. Guys are going to test the waters at other places and see how that feels. Others are going to come and test the waters here, and that's one of the most exciting things about being in the business, that you have these opportunities. Frankly, I'm surprised people actually want to test the waters in Impact Wrestling. Not much going on there. Not much at all. I even try and bring news to my my podcast on a weekly basis. Some sort of news for Impact Wrestling. So I'm not just covering WWE all the time. But there is never any updated news when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Actually, even Ring of Honor is the same way. The only time there's actually news is if someone's leaving their companies or there's a pay-per-view event. That's it. That is all that you ever find about Impact Wrestling. Or sometimes there's an injury. You know, God forbid there's an occasional injury, and they report on that. But anything to do with their shows or what have you, you never see anything of that sort in the news. So it's either someone's going to buy them out, or there's an injury, or someone's left, or someone's joined. Now, there's been a lot going on TV when it comes to wrestling, not in news-related sources, really. I understand that Undertaker was seen going into a Los Angeles hospital to get basically a checkout. And this is all leading up to his hip surgery. Now, there's a lot of speculation still going around. Is he actually retired? Is he coming back? I want to say I don't want to see him come back. I really don't. He's too old. He can't really portray the dead man character anymore. The Undertaker character, it's been a great thing to watch over the years. I've been a huge fan of The Undertaker. And, you know, I understand and I know that wrestling is all a work. But the character has went through so many changes, yet still held a lot of the semblance of the original Undertaker. It's a character that never seemed to really die on the television when it came to wrestling. Everyone wanted to see the next crazy thing that Undertaker did on television. But it's gotten to the point where watching him is almost as painful as him experiencing the pain he's going through while trying to wrestle. I got a lot of respect for what The Undertaker's done in the wrestling business, but I would rather have have this as his last WrestleMania than try another one and come out looking just as bad, maybe even worse. Get your hip surgery, you know, enjoy your time with your family, enjoy retirement. As for people speculating and rumors coming about that he still might be at WrestleMania 34, I'd rather see him be at WrestleMania 34 because he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's about all I want to see from The Undertaker these days. Hell, let him ride out on his chopper one last time down in the ring and tell the fans thank you for his induction into the Hall of Fame. That, you know, that'd be a good send-off. I like how he ended his shit at WrestleMania 33. He took off all the garb, laid it nicely in a pile in the middle of the ring. Didn't say goodbye, nothing, and just kind of faded into the fog, and then got lowered through his entrance contraption that they used for him on that, wow, long fucking ramp. Jesus Christ, that was ridiculous. Now, other news that's been going on. Like I said, there hasn't been a whole lot. What was everyone's thoughts on Raw this week? Now, to me, I'm going to be honest. I wasn't a very big fan of the 8-woman tag team match. Now, in the end, Alexa Bliss went over, which was to be expected and what should have happened. But the whole thing happened way too soon on the show. This should have happened mid-card, and it would have had a nice build-up towards the show, you know? It just didn't make sense to me. And trying to pack in all your women in one spot, why? You want each woman to be developed in their own way and to come up their own way, yet you're not willing to give them the time on your show. You've got 3 hours, and you've got maybe about 50, sometimes not even that percent of that time spent on wrestling. The rest of it is commercials and promos and garbage. And instead, you could be letting these women have, like, what? Singles matches and tag matches, not, 8-woman tag team matches. That's ridiculous. It is uncalled for. How do any of these other women, besides the champion and the #1 contender, actually are able to get over? I don't understand their mindset on this. You got Bayley going over, you got Sasha Banks going over, you've got Alexa Bliss going over, but you have none of the other women going over because they're just added to the match and that's about it. So to me, it doesn't really make sense. Now, like I said, Alexa Bliss's team did win out in the end, which is really good for her. It just helps her be a stronger champion and give her that confidence. I have to say, this week, Bayley was more cringe than usual, and seeing her at the point where she was, where it appeared like she was going to cry throughout the entire night, just started aggravating me. You're not a little girl anymore. Drop the whole kitty bullshit gimmick. You've reached and accomplished your dreams. Become a woman, develop that woman mentality and charisma and attitude, and quit being a kid and actually have a mature character. I think it would be more relatable to the fans, not just the little kids out in the audience. I think it would do a hell of a lot better. But that's just me. I'm not a big Bayley fan because of the bullshit that they have her do. And frankly, she's actually gotten worse on the mic than Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte Flair, we all know, sounds like a goddamn robot. Like, these women are so fucking heavily scripted, they can't even pull off a great promo. Except for a woman like Alexa Bliss. She pulls off a fantastic promo. It's good to see. Either she is being scripted the right way, or she knows how to read a script and rehearse it and come out and it sound like it's her being natural, and these other women fail at it all the time. I don't understand it. It doesn't fucking make sense. And then you go on to Enzo Amore versus Luke Gallows, and you have them both coming out looking weak at the end of it. This is Raw, people. This is Raw, where they don't bother trying to make sense. Instead of a tag team match, trying to elevate both these teams as tag teams, no, they put them in a singles match, and then they have Luke Gallows win, but he needed his partner Carl Anderson's help to actually win the match. So, what does that have to say? And then you got Enzo Amore getting ragdolled the entire fucking match. And I'm sitting there wondering, what good does this do either of the teams? Really, what good does it do either of them? You've got one being ragdolled like a little fucking bitch. The other one needs help from his partner to beat an opponent that he's ragdolling. Really. And then one team is supposed to come out looking stronger. On top of that, Enzo and Cass finally get a pay-per-view win. Actually, they finally get a win in a very long time. And then they give that win back away in a singles match that actually made no sense. Made both teams look worse. And yet we were supposed to have been entertained. But me, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering, what the fuck is your problem? You know, get your shit together. Either you're going to give Enzo and Cass that push, or you're going to just, you know, you might as well split them up. Cass goes on to have a great singles career, which I know he probably could. Enzo Amore, you know what, at this point, make him Cass's mouthpiece. Make him his manager. He runs his mouth pretty damn good. So that's one thing he does good. In a wrestling match, he's complete shit, but he can run his mouth. So make him a manager. Let Cass be a singles competitor. Give me a break. You know, you're going to have them lose all the time to begin with. The Cruiserweight 6-man tag team match. I am going to be very fucking honest here. I fell asleep through this match because it bored the fuck out of me. If the only time I'm going to see Cruiserweights battle it out on Raw is basically tag team matches and 6-man tag matches, I don't want to watch it. And I'm very serious when I say I fell asleep through this motherfucker. We had Gallagher, Tozawa, and Rich Swann, defeated Kendrick and Nice and Noam Dar. Now, Tozawa seems to be going over with the fans. I don't mind him as a wrestler, but when I start hearing him scream throughout the match continuously, I'm just wondering what mental institution this guy came out of, or what kind of damage is done to this guy's head for him to want to scream like that throughout the entire fucking match. Gallagher's funny. Gallagher is good on his own. I love Gallagher. Same with Rich Swann. But I don't want to see these guys continuously put into 6-man tags just so they get TV time. And they're considered, at this point, mid-card level personalities. Even on 205 Live, they're secondary characters. And that's a fucking sad state to be in when 205 is so new and they've only got one title and they've only got 1 hour of TV. These guys are all considered second-tier wrestlers. I have nothing to say on that. And frankly, the only part of Monday Night Raw I actually enjoyed was the main event. And I've got to say that basically about SmackDown as well. Those two matches made the show. Without those matches, it would have their ratings would have been even lower than what they were last week. They were still lower. They still plummeted more, but I think it would have been worse if they wouldn't have had these main events. I'm gonna move on to SmackDown, because SmackDown, seriously, to me, is more of a wrestling show. They're doing more of the right things. They're still doing a lot of bad things. They're not pushing their tag teams. They are still fucking up on some storylines. I'm kind of warming up to the whole Jinder Mahal bit. Them giving him the push. I am truly warming up to it. I didn't understand it at first, and I was one of the first ones to speak out about it, because he was used for a jobber his whole time on Monday Night Raw. Gets moved over to SmackDown, and he's in a #1 contendership match. And the only thing I'm thinking is, why does this guy belong in a #1 contenders match? Besides all the jokes, you know, of Jinder Mahal juicing it up with steroids or any other kind of, you know, drugs to get himself in shape the way he is. He isn't a bad competitor. He's got the look. He's got the energy right now, which he lacked before. That could have been due to not having really any airtime on Raw, but he has had a few good matches. He's had a match with Sami Zayn. It could have been a lot longer. It was right at the top of the show, which I thought was funny, and you know, it just was another match where he got to go over. He got to actually win, and makes him look stronger on his way up to go against Randy Orton at Backlash. But all in all, I don't see him coming out of Backlash as champion. I really don't. It doesn't make sense for him to actually go over. But then there are rumors that state that Vince McMahon and company aren't really sure what they're going to do yet. Are they going to actually have him win the title against Randy Orton? And at the moment, I kind of wish he would. I actually do, because Randy Orton, to me, is one of the most boring champions in the entire WWE. You know, and you had a great chance of making a great champion in Bray Wyatt. He could have had a very nice long reign as SmackDown champion. Instead, they opted to put Randy Orton back into that championship place and move the other guy over to Raw, which made no sense, and have a shitty fucking so-called House of Horrors match. It was sad. It was really sad. So at the moment, I actually want Jinder Mahal to defeat Randy Orton for the title. Now, he probably only carries it to the next pay-per-view and drops it to the next competitor. But I'd rather see someone else hold it than Randy Orton right now. And hell, you know, it'd be a great thing to give Jinder Mahal that extra confidence that they trusted him with the title, that he probably push himself to the point where he could have another opportunity at a title run if they had him win against Randy Orton, that is at Backlash. But neither one of them I see with a long reign. I want to see AJ Styles win it back, because right now he's the best thing going on SmackDown, the best champion that they could hope for, and I would love to see AJ Styles go one-on-one with Nakamura for the title in the future, because these guys would have an excellent match together. Moving on, though, there's a lot of fucking talk on this show. Yeah, so that's Aiden English balling like a bitch on SmackDown after his match against Ty Dillinger. Now, besides the fact he was added to Chris Jericho's list for crying on the show, I thought it was pretty sad that they'd have this guy cry or pretend to cry on national television. Ty Dillinger, of course, great superstar. He went over. But they had a chance to make Aiden English look good. They missed out on that. Instead, they want to have him singing opera and getting his ass handed to him by anyone that comes into the ring. You might as well, just tag him as Kurt Hawkins, for fuck's sakes. I don't want to see that shit on my TV. I really don't. It looks fucking pathetic. Now, Naomi and Charlotte Flair were supposed to go up against Carmella and Natalya. Now, Carmella, Natalya, and Snuka would take out Charlotte Flair in the back. So Naomi would have to start this match as a handicap match. It would be her alone for the longest time facing Carmella and Natalya. All in all, not a bad match. It picked up after Charlotte came back out and reinserted herself into the match. Naomi and Charlotte would lose, though, due to, bullshit shenanigans by Natalya and Carmella. Carmella would pick up the win over Naomi. Not a bad match. It just made current champion Naomi look weak. Made her look a little bit stupid because she lost with a roll-up pin. And it lays the seeds of Natalya becoming a baby face, which they are pushing for. Now, I do have a question. What the hell is wrong with wrestling fans these days? Now, back when I was younger and I was watching wrestling, if a heel started showing signs of going babyface, it would be more of a slower transition. They would have to re-earn the trust from the fans and earn their respect and admiration. Today, you have 1 week, you've got Charlotte bad-mouthing the fans, bad-mouthing the women in the locker room. The next week, you have her acting like a babyface and pairing up with a babyface. A woman that she fought the week before for the women's championship match on SmackDown. And the fans were cheering her. And I don't understand that. To me, I look at it as it's a road that you have to travel for redemption. All the shit I've done bad in my life, I had to struggle and fight my way back for redemption. Today's age, you have these people flip-flopping back and forth between heel and face so often that it makes your head spin, and yet these fans have no problems switching back and forth. And to me, it's like, no, bitch, you gotta earn your fucking spot. You gotta earn the right for me to actually think you're excitable. And as long as you're going to talk like a goddamn robot, I don't see myself being a fan of yours. Now, I know it's all heavily scripted for her. She's reading a script, but she's got to learn to read that script a whole lot better before she can actually shoot a great promo. Charlotte is one of the best athletes, women athletes in wrestling today. But the fact that she can't cut a promo is to her detriment because people just look at her and is like, God awful, you are so cringe. We don't want to hear you. And then, the nude photos leak out and it's like, I really don't want to see you naked either. Because the only thing you got for you is your upper body. Your face is just, it's not a non-ugly face. But I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful face either. I'd say average. The only thing that anyone can actually see is you had a boob job. That's the only thing that makes your upper body look good. Your lower half, I'm sorry, but you've got no figure, woman. No fucking shape to your hips, nothing. And you're going to cry because your photos were leaked? Well, you know what? Ask the women in the locker room to stop leaking the photos, and then you won't have this problem. I'm not saying by any means she's ugly. She's a very fit woman. She's very muscular. She is very in shape. But do I think she's attractive? No. And, I looked at the photos and I looked away because, frankly, I didn't see anything interesting. And the way I've always looked at it, if I can't see a woman that, if I can't look at a woman that has different assets than my wife or better assets, then why am I looking? She, by far, does not exceed what my wife has, so, frankly, I don't need to look. Now, we had Sin Cara versus Dolph Ziggler. And the only thing I kept on saying throughout the whole match was, what the fuck is wrong with Sin Cara? Right off the hop, my mind switched to way back in the 90s when Giant Gonzalez was about and he was facing The Undertaker. The big, fucking ridiculous costume he wore with airbrushed muscles and hair on it. Well, it reminded me of that, but all green. And then he had some big, big designs on his chest and on his back, but the spray painted definition for muscles, give me a break. And then that god-awful green. It was a shit match to begin with. And yeah, Dolph Ziggler won it again, but I mean, like, it was complete shit. And then you have Sin Cara coming out looking like a fucking clown. Frankly, he comes off as a clown most of the time anyway, but I know he's a tough motherfucker. He powerbombed Dolph Ziggler with one arm, and that was a deadlift off the mat. So he is a tough guy. It's just, frankly, I don't care for his wrestling. I think they should throw him with 205 Live. Maybe he elevates them a little bit. Who knows? But their match on SmackDown was complete garbage. So we move into the WWE United States title match. Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho, and this made the entire fucking show. AJ Styles was banned from ringside. You had a very competitive match. These guys battled it out really hard. You had Kevin Owens win back the United States Championship, and after the match, shit went just south for Chris Jericho, and this was basically his scripted send-off so he could tour with his band Fozzy. He got ragdolled and beat upon like a, for better lack of terms, a rented mule, as JR would say. He had a chair draped around his neck and then smashed against the the ring post. He was then powerbombed on the floor, and that was basically a tribute to Jake Roberts when he DDT'd Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on the outside on the cement floor. So it was kind of a tribute. That was later stated in one of the news sites I visit for all my news. Now, I've covered almost an hour. I know it isn't the 2 hours that we promised, but it is hard to do because we were planning on a few different topics tonight, and I can't really do them when my co-host is not on air. Is there anything? I know it looks like I've got one person watching. So, if you have any questions to ask, please ask now. I think I'm going to call it quits for today. I might just go out and bake some banana bread. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing tonight before I go to bed. And you're kind of probably looking at me as like, what? Baking bread? Yes, I bake bread. I bake banana bread. I bake a lot of shit. I'm a cook. I'm a baker. I'm a mechanic, and I am a podcaster and I'm an author. So there's a lot of things I do. Now, actually, I could talk about that stuff a little bit. Now, I'm hoping next week the show is different. It's better. I wanted to do so much more with it with my partner. But Red, clearly not available. I'm probably thinking he's still in bed, feeling worn out from the seizure he suffered. The only thing I got to say to him is get your ass better, man. Missed you this week, and you better get your shit together. No, it's first and foremost, besides doing all this, I am a writer. I love writing books. I've got my first one published. It is called Dragon's Kin. It's out on Amazon, and you can find it simply by searching in the book section under Dragon's Kin by Pete Wall. You'll see it very easily. And I'm working on book 2. I'm struggling right now. I'm waiting for it to actually be warmer and better weather out so I can go out into the woods like I used to. sit on a stump of a fallen tree or something and just sit and write. That is the way I get my creative juices flowing. When it's raining out and cold out, I'm not doing that. And I'm out here in Canada, Ontario, and the weather sucks right now. It's cold, it's wet. We've had rain almost all fucking week, and it's still going right now, and it's pissing me off because I can't get fucking shit done. I also design t-shirts. The one I'm wearing right now is one of them of my designs. I don't know if you can see it, but there's half of it. It is called Circle of Steel. Now you can find it on Teespring. The link is below. I have some stuff on Teespring. I also do it at home. And I sell them myself, and good prices. It's all vinyl. It's not screen printed. So I'm paying top dollar for this stuff, and I sell them at a very decent price. I make them for the book I wrote and the books that I am writing, as well as for this podcast. I'm doing one for Pillar to Post, as well as Shooting from the Hip. And I'm actually going to be giving some away to viewers. We're going to strive for 500 subscribers here on YouTube on Pillar to Post. And if we get that, we're going to have a draw. On top of that, I'm going to have to do an entire show after consuming 2 tablespoons of the hottest hot sauce you can possibly get, and that is the Carolina Reaper hot sauce. Now, I won't be able to use anything besides water and a puke bucket if I end up having to puke, which I won't. I think I'm stronger than that. But I will have to consume some hot sauce, do an entire 1 hour podcast without using anything to help with the heat besides water to swallow every now and then. So that is our goal right now, 500 subscribers, and then we have a huge draw. We're also on Patreon. If you pledge to Patreon at certain levels, I think you pledge $30 on Patreon, you actually automatically get a signed copy of my book, Dragon's Kin, and there's bigger prizes besides that. $50, I think it's a Pillar to Post sweater, or a Circle of Steel sweater, or hoodie, I should say. $20 is a draw for a t-shirt. It's a monthly thing, and there is something else. I can't remember everything offhand, but all that is in the description below, as well as Red Rainer's stuff, his YouTube channel, his Patreon, and Twitter. All that is on or in the descriptions below. Now, what else can we talk about? I might as well ask, because this is going to go up on my show, on my channel. Now, I basically give you wrestling related content, but I want to do other stuff as well. Should I make a new channel for that other stuff, as in working on my son's car, showing you how-to stuff on an older car when you're basically restoring it, which we are. We're basically restoring the damn thing at this point. Should that be done on a different channel, or can I actually do it on the same channel? And will it be a problem for viewers like you that want to see the wrestling related content? I've only got one video up there right now. It wasn't done very well because I was using a shitty fucking cell phone. But and then I'm also doing videos on getting healthier, losing weight, getting back in shape. I'm fighting a lot of different health issues: diabetes, obesity, nerve damage, and chronic pain. You know, those are the worst things in my life right now. The chronic pain by far is the worst one, because there are days where I can't walk at all. There's days where I can hardly move. There's days where, you know, I just push myself to the point where I'm down for a week. So I'm trying to get better at this point. I'm trying to get healthier, eat better, which I didn't do today. I ended up making scalloped potatoes, and then everyone kept on passing me their food. Here, you finish it, I can't. And that's a bad thing, because I was brought up in a way where I was told, what is on your plate, you finish it. So if I put too much on my plate, or if other people go and throw their scraps on my plate, in my head I have to finish it, and that's something I've gotta conquer. But those are things I'm working on right now for Pillar to Post. But if my viewers don't want to see that content, should I just instead use or make a different channel and have that stuff separately? Would that be a better way to go? Give me your advice in the comments below or in the chat. Let me know what you think. Like I said, without my partner here, this is hour one. I really don't know what to really discuss other than what we were planning on to, and that does not work without my partner here.
Can I call you an idiot?
And I forgot my coffee. Yes, you can call me an idiot, my wife.
I just did.
Actually, I'll take a fresh one, but with 2 sugars.
Let's wait for you to sip it.
I'm not good with cold coffee. So I think for Shooting from the Hip today, this will be the end. I think an hour is good enough. I thank those that joined for joining. I thank those that will watch this show later on. Thank you for viewing it. Give me your advice. Give me your thoughts on this week in wrestling. I know I didn't get into the stuff I wanted to, but like I said, without my co-host here, it just doesn't work. Because we try and go back and forth on things. We try and give our views on each subject, and without him here, I don't hear his reviews and his thoughts, and I can't argue or counteract. So it kind of defeats the purpose of this show of going back and forth when we can't. And if you haven't noticed, there is a scheme color to the design on your screen. It's red and blue. He is a Monday Night Raw fan. I am a SmackDown fan. That's why we chose the color scheme. So you know what we were aiming for with the show. We were going to counter each and every situation that's happened throughout the week. And like I said, this week was not the greatest week in wrestling, especially WWE. Everything seemed to be based off of the main events, which is fucking sad. But I'm going to say that's it for now. You guys all have a good night. I'm going to have my coffee, visit my wife a little bit, and then make some banana bread. Join me next week for Shooting from the Hip. We will go live again. If I have to do the son of a bitch on my own again, I will. But I hope my partner is feeling up to it and feeling better, and maybe we can throw on the show that we want to give you all. So thank you very much for watching, and I will be seeing you tomorrow on Pillar to Post for another episode. And I believe we will be on episode 3. No, we're on episode 4, part 3 tomorrow. So, see you then. Thank you very much.